Happy Sunday morning, everybody, and welcome to the cutest Mad Men podcast on the internet, Made Man, where today I watched Season 7, Episode 4 of Mad Men, The Monolith. And this was a good episode. I enjoyed it. And it's funny, when I finished watching it, I'm like, did a lot happen? I feel like stuff happened, but how much is there to talk about? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to start talking about it. But before we do, let's take a moment to hear from today's sponsor. Oh, what a wonderful sponsor. Thank you so much for sponsoring this episode's sponsor. So now, let's get into this episode, which picks up with Mr. Pete Campbell and his real estate agent, his girlfriend, who he's still calling his real estate agent. Now, we got a little bit of Pete in this episode, not a lot. The episode opens up with Pete at dinner with his girlfriend, and somebody is staring at the girlfriend, which Pete turns around and finds that it's someone he recognizes. And you know, there's someone I recognize too, and I'm looking at him going, why do I recognize this guy? Why do I recognize this guy? Oh my goodness, he's Eugene from The Walking Dead. That was a show that used to be good and then wasn't as good. But he doesn't have the mullet. He doesn't have the accent. He's just, talks like I don't want to say a regular fella, but yeah, he has more of a boring accent. And he's there just kind of, he recognized Pete, but he didn't want to say anything. And Pete's like, oh, no, I'm divorced. That's okay. I didn't want to. He's like, I didn't want to disturb you. He's like, oh, I'm divorced. This is my real estate agent. Okay, fine. It's my girlfriend. And they talked a little bit, and this guy worked at Vic's with Trudy's father. That's Pete's father-in-law. Pete actually finds out that the guy had a heart attack, and Trudy didn't even tell Pete. He's like, I didn't even know that. You could see there was a little bit of concern in his face, not knowing that the grandfather of his child, young Tammy, had a heart attack, and he wasn't even aware of that. This guy had to tell him. And who knows how long, it happened since this guy left Vic's, now works for, I want to say Burger Chef. Yeah, he works for Burger Chef. And they're expanding. They already have 1,000 restaurants. They want to get more. He said something about trying to get to Disneyland. And Pete worked a little magic to get a meeting with them. And the girlfriend was like, I love seeing you work like that. Pete's like, yeah, I have conversations like that all the time. That, I think what was weighing on Pete was not knowing about his father-in-law. I think that bothered him a little bit. Nothing comes up again in this episode about it, but I just thought that's something that seemed to be weighing on him. We cut to Mr. Dick Whitman showing up for work, Donald Draper, and he has it's funny, I thought maybe a comet hit or something happened, because he shows up to work and nobody's there. At one point there's a phone just hanging. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But the more he works his way into the office, the more he starts to hear a little bit of talking, a little bit of chattering, a little bit of complaining, a little bit of apologizing, and he ends up going on the second floor to find that everybody's up there having a meeting. And was it Harry and Jim? Because I know his name now. It's not just Harry Hamlin. It's funny, but the other guy is Harry. Oh. So many names. They're in hard hats because they're there explaining to everyone that they are getting a computer. So Harry obviously got to Jim Cutler about the whole computer thing. They approved getting a computer, and they're bringing a computer into the office, and that means that the entire creative bullpen, that big middle spot where everybody kind of works and hangs out, is being overtaken by a massive computer. Now, I watched today's episode of Mad Men on a $200 Chromebook. It's a little white Chromebook. I'm holding it in my hand right now. It's got a little touch screen. I would say, I don't know if it shows the weight. Does it have a weight listed on this thing? No, I'm going to say 5 pounds. Maybe 5 pounds. It's not the lightest computer in the world, but I'm almost positive that this little tiny computer running Chrome OS has almost as much power as this computer that it's going to take up an entire room. Now, this is a low-end computer running a browser system. This is not like even a Windows or a Mac, but I know the computer that I use for work, the one that fits, like it's about the size of a notepad, is more powerful than this computer that's in this entire room, taking up this entire, that needs to take over this entire office. And that always fascinates me, the evolution of computers, and what the hell is this computer even going to do? Like, what is the point of a computer? Later on, we'll get there. We'll get there. So there's a big meeting, and Don was late to it. And Roger's like, why are you late? He's like, I didn't know there was a meeting. He goes, nobody told me about the memo. He goes, well, it was a part. He goes, was this a partner's decision? Roger's like, this was made before you were here, so you got to deal with it. But everyone in the creative area, which is, the faces we know the most are Ginsberg and Stan. They have to clear out. Everything that's not there by the end of the week is considered garbage. So they have to clear out. They're getting thrown into various offices. And Ginsberg is, annoyed by it. Stan's like, this is the way it goes. He didn't seem to care as much. Another guy said, that's what made us different. That we didn't, he didn't say that we didn't have a computer because that's what made this place different. Was that it was completely reliant on people, not computers. Now, to be honest with you, I use a computer constantly for work, but the decisions, the way we use computers, it's weird because the computers don't decide for us. The computers don't make anyone obsolete. In fact, like our office added people because we needed other people to do creative things using the computers. So, but that's a different world. What is this computer going to do? I don't quite know. Does it help? I guess it helps Harry seem more important. I think that's what Stan said. And I'm guessing it's more for, media placement and calculations, I guess. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what the actual computer does for them. It's weird because, like computers just help facilitate decisions that I make or my coworkers make on a daily basis. What is this computer going to do? Interesting to find out. But, the thing about the office right now is Don is not... He's Don Draper partner, but he's not Don Draper. To the point where Ginsberg doesn't even care. He's like, Don, come over here. Help us carry this couch. He wanted to take a couch, put it in their office, but Stan's like, it's not even going to fit. This is stupid. And Ginsberg's like, they're taking all our stuff. They're moving us. They're making us nothing. This couch is, I don't want the other couch. It's full of farts. And it was funny. But Don was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. He ends up just going back in his office, going to light up a cigarette. A cigarette drops, rolls under a table. And he's like, what's under there? And it's an old New York Mets pennant, which was, what's his name? Lane's. And you just kind of realize that Don is in Lane's office. And it's, what has changed since Lane is gone. All the stuff that's happened. And wondering, what would be different if Lane was still there. So while Don goes into his office, he notices a few of the partners. Now, Lou is not a partner, but he notices it's a few people go into the office to take a meeting that he's not part of because he's just kind of there. They close the door, and I think it's Roger, Jim, and Lou, and they're on the phone with and Don's also in the meeting. Dawn, the secretary Dawn, who the office manager Dawn now. She's kind of taking over for Joan's old position. She's there taking the minutes, and on the other line is Ted and Pete in California. So this is the last time we see Pete, and it's all about the Burger Chef. Now, Burger Chef sounds like a real business. I want to say, was there a Burger Chef? I don't know. I know it was a Burger Time, quite a video game, but I'm wondering if this is a kind of McDonald's, like a fill-in for McDonald's, because sometimes they use real businesses, sometimes they use fake businesses that are made up to kind of fill, to kind of represent. So I wonder if this is representing McDonald's or if Burger Chef was a real thing. But Burger Chef feels like a real thing. So they're talking about job, and they're like, we think Lou should run. Oh, first they said, I think Ted should run it. And Ted, we're going to bring you home. And Ted's like, I'm not coming home. Nope, I'm sorry. He goes, I think Peggy should run it. And I think Ted, well, obviously Ted really does believe in Peggy. That's not fake. But Ted also does not want to come home. He wants to stay in California. He wants to throw a bone to Peggy. But he does believe in Peggy. That's for real, I believe. And Lou agreed with it. Now, what's funny is this is in the room. They decide that I agree, Peggy is good for the job. Ted, I mean, it's unfortunate that it's a chauvinistic way of doing it. He's like, it's in the kitchen, it's food, it's this. They're going to want a woman on it. And they agreed. But they also said maybe Don should be on this work with Don Draper, give him something to do. And Roger was all for that. And Lou actually was like, okay, can you control him? It's like, that's not going to be a problem. He seemed apprehensive about it, but he was all smiles. But then when they leave the room, Lou, like, his smile disappeared. I don't think he loved this very much. Now, earlier in the episode, when they were doing the construction, when they were talking about the construction, they were complaining about losing the creative. And Peggy's like, Lou doesn't care. He doesn't even know what the hell to do with creative. And he said that right behind Lou. Lou probably overheard him. And he said some comment back. And she's like, oh, my God, did he hear me? So what's happening is Burger Chef is this major client, the big-time client, could be billing $3 million worth of stuff, and they're giving it to Peggy to manage, to run, to make this presentation, and they're giving Don to Peggy to work for, completely flipping the script of what used to be. Now, I'm going to put that story on hold and talk about what's going on with Roger. I'm just going to stick with the story because I just want to get it in, get it out. And so Roger is in his office. Roger's walking up to his office, and his secretary runs out. She's playing with his grandson, Ellery. And she's like, oh, is Margot here? She goes, no, your wife, he's here. Yeah, Margaret, whatever his wife's name. Mona? Is Mona the wife and Margot the daughter? I mean, mix up the names. The letters a little. It's hard. So Mona's in the office with the husband, and it's your son-in-law and your wife. He's like, okay. So he goes into the office, sees the son-in-law and the wife, and turns out that his daughter has taken off. His daughter has gone off to a hippie commune, and the only reason the son told them about it is because he needed someone to watch Ellery for a few days while he goes up there, tries to bring her home, or goes up there to visit. I don't even know. He's like, I'm telling him I'm going on vacation to visit Mom. The parents are all nervous about it, but Roger's like, you know what? It's just a phase. Let her figure it out. And the mother wanted to go right up there and visit, but he's like, no. And she was a little annoyed. He was like, whatever, it is what it is. And the son was just like, I can take care of it. It's my family. Now, look, I'm not a huge fan of Roger's daughter. Okay, she seems to be all over the place. She was this perfect little daughter when she got married because Daddy was investing and helping them out. Then when Daddy said he didn't want to help them out with something, she got all pissy about it. And then she was like, I don't want you to see your grandson anymore. And then she wants to meet, then she goes out for lunch with him. And she's like, I accept you for who you are, Daddy. Now all of a sudden she's a friggin' hippie on a commune. Is she just kind of showing us like, look, this happened. Here's a way of happening it, because she's all over the place. And she gets on my nerves because she's all over the place. Maybe because I'm not all over the place in my life, that seeing someone do that just annoys me, especially someone that has a kid. I only have a beagle, and she's lying right next to me right now. Hi, how you doing? And I wouldn't even leave her. I mean, I wouldn't leave my wife either, but I wouldn't leave my beagle. Let's be honest, I mean, I love my wife, but I definitely wouldn't leave my beagle. That's a joke, everyone. But leaving your husband and your kid, it just annoys me. Annoys me that someone that has something is then turning their back on it because, they want to. But then she said they could live up here with me, yada, yada, yada. Let's stick with this story because, honestly, it's on my nerves a little bit. So the big thing is then he gets a call. Oh, no. he gets a telegram that the secretary reads to him. Hey, genius, he got himself arrested. So the husband got himself arrested up there. He's in jail. So now the next thing we know is Roger and his ex-wife are heading up to the commune. And they could bail the son-in-law out, but he's like, no, let's do it afterwards. She's like, oh yeah, absolutely. They're going to let him sit in jail for a couple of days. He goes, he should have gotten a fight there, not with some rednecks at a bar on the way back. So he obviously went to the commune, couldn't talk his wife out of it, went home. On the way home, stopped at a bar, got in a fight, and that's why he's in jail. So that dolt is where he belongs, and they're leaving him there. They go to the commune, which is, I guess, exactly what you think it is. It's got giant farmland. Everyone dressed very hippy-dippy-ish. People are planting crops and hanging out and smiles. Everyone's smiling. And then you see, Mr. and Mrs. Sterling show up. Perfectly, a nice car, perfect suits. They look so out of place. Like when you see them in New York, when you see them at the firm, they just fit in with everyone else. But once they show up at someplace else, they just look completely out of place, like they don't belong there. The mother more so than Roger. So they talk to her, and her name now she goes by Marigold. Marigold, come here. And she tries. The parents try to talk to her and say it's time to go. She's like, no, mother, this is what I'm doing now. And the mother and her start arguing. She starts saying, I found peace here. She goes, you have a son at home. He will find peace. It will be okay. I've found happiness. I don't have to hide in the bathroom with a djinn. Basically saying that's what you did. You thought you were so good. She's like, I tried I did my best. I was there for you every day. And she's like, no, you were but you didn't have peace. You had to drink your way, to being my mother. And she's like, I had to slap you right now. That's it, Roger. We're leaving. Roger's like, no, wait. I didn't even get a chance to talk to her. And she said, and then the wife yells at him and goes, oh, you want to close your deal, or you don't want to work the account? Be my guest. He goes, I'll have Jethro drive me to the train, which I laughed out loud because there's no Jethro. He just called the guy Jethro. He basically said, I'll have one of these hippie hillbillies drive me to the local train to get out of here. He gives her the keys. Mom scrams, and Dad stays. But you have to realize Roger and his daughter are alike. The free-willing, and Roger kind of, I think, admires her a little bit. You see what he's doing now. I mean, he took the LSD. Then he's got a couple. He's got that young hippie girlfriend who has friends at his house. So he's got people coming and going all the time. So he's not that. This isn't that shocking to him. You have to remember that. So he stays there. He's peeling potatoes with them. But he joked about how this reminds him of being in the army. They're like, he goes, we should switch jobs. He goes, we don't have hierarchy here. They're like, we don't have hierarchy here. Everyone does what they want. And he goes, we're eating so early. They don't have electricity. So once the sun goes down, electricity gets in the way. And he goes, don't you get cold? He's like, there are other ways to stay warm. And he's like, but you have a truck. He goes, yeah, we've talked about that. So it's like, they've talked about getting rid of the truck even, but Roger's also calling them out for you say this, you say that, but then you have a truck right there, which is, it's got gas, it's got electricity, it's got modern technology in it. So he's trying to, I guess, call them out on the hypocrisy, but Roger stays, smokes a little weed with them, and then lies out by the stars, which is funny because they're talking about counting stars, but that was in a different part of this episode. I just made that connection now. I was like, oh, look, they're counting stars like they said. But wait, that wasn't this story. The counting stars was in something else. Ooh, this is all coming together. Interesting. So Roger and his daughter fall asleep under the stars and it was like they were in a barn, I thought. But the roof was open. You could see the stars. And they were talking about, she's like, I really like it here. He was like, I see that. And they talk about the stars, and she goes, wouldn't you like to go to the moon? And he goes, that's everyone's dream to go to the moon, even as a little boy. She's like, to be an astronaut. She's like, you didn't have astronauts when you were a little boy. He goes, sure we did. We had Jules Verne, From the Earth to the Moon. She goes, oh, you used to read me that story. He's like, no, I don't think I did. I think that was your mother. And just a little conversation, probably him realizing that he wasn't there as much for his kid as he thought he was. So they, like later, I don't know if it's right away, but a few minutes later, he hears his daughter go, not here, not here. And she gets up and goes downstairs with one of the hippy-dippy dudes to make probably hippie sex. And the dad is left there to be like, I thought that left Roger to go work on one of the women and try to get a little hippie love himself. But instead that seemed to affect him because the next day he was back to being Roger. So he's sitting on the front porch, back in his suit. And he's like, where's my daughter? Oh, she's coming. He goes, time to go. Tries to get her to go. Tries to forcefully get her to go. Grab her by the arm. Then throw her over her shoulder. It doesn't quite work. She falls. They both fall in the mud together. And the daughter just lets him have it. She goes, like you. She goes, what's the difference? He goes, you have a daughter at home. You have a son at home. He goes, don't you care? You need to be there for him. She goes, oh, like you were there all the time? You were off running with you're having your secretaries called to send me birthday gifts. These are the things, that's how you cared. She basically called him out for being a bad dad. And he just was like, he heard enough. He realized he's not going to win. And he just slunked off, like walked off. And he wasn't coming back. He was gone. In other words, he left her. And that was the end of Roger's story. His daughter's off living the hippie lifestyle. Probably, living the free life a lot because of him. And there's nothing he can do about it. He can't fix it, but he may have been part of the cause. So let's rewind all the way back to where we were earlier in the episode. They got the burger chef job. They gave it to Peggy, and now Dawn. As I said, the tables have turned, and Dawn is working under Peggy. But while this is going on, they also are. This is all happening while the computers are being installed in this room. This entire room is becoming a computer room, which means loud construction going on. So everyone who's in their offices, like Lou, Dawn, Peggy, they have to be in their office while all this construction is going on, which is loud and annoying. But Dawn ends up going outside to see what's going on and meets the guy who's installing the computer. He is now he works for a company that installs these computers. He used to work for IBM. Now he works for this company that uses IBM computers, but he is a competitor of them. It's weird. You're a competitor of IBM, but you're using IBM's machines. So either way, IBM is winning. That's where you have such a hold on something where it's like, oh, I don't want to use Microsoft. Look at it this way. I don't want to use Microsoft computers. I don't want to use Microsoft, the company, but I'm going to use all these computers that run Windows. Well, guess who uses Windows? That's Microsoft. So you're still using Microsoft. So it's kind of that thing where it's like, look, you can only go so far. And it's like Android now. It's like, oh, I don't want a Samsung phone. I want an LG phone. Either I don't want a Google phone. I want a Samsung. Well, guess what? It's Android, which is made by Google. So it's like things have it's like a weird way to compete with someone, but you still have to use their products. And this is a little more, a little different because it's the hardware. They're actually still using IBM's computers. But it seemed like the difference is this guy, who is, seems, like he's talking to Don about computers and seems interesting. But his thing is look, we try to do it for cheaper because IBM, their only interest is, or their main interest is, here's our computer. Here's the 351. Well, guess what? The 352 just came out. You need a new computer. Here's your new computer. Boom. Here's the 353. And this guy's saying, look, the old computer, I don't want to see these computers in a ditch every 2 years. He thinks you can get longer life out of them and they can last longer. That's why they're cheaper. Later on, he comes into Don's office to ask for a smoke, but then he also asks for a little advice on advertising. And Don's like, well, what makes you different? You have you. And this is what the guy was saying. We think things can last longer. We think that we can do as good a job for cheaper. And Don's like, and also the others aren't advertising. That was an interesting thing where Don said part of the appeal of you advertising while the others aren't is that you're advertising and the others aren't. So if you're a company and you're looking for a computer, you might do some research to find 5 companies. But if you do research and also see that one of these companies is advertising, you'd be like, huh, interesting. I'll check them out. So it might get more eyes on the prize. Later, Don gets really angry at this guy, and I'm not sure exactly why. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So now, as I said, Don needs to work under Peggy now. And Peggy says, Don, come on in. Brings Don in, brings the other guy. I want to say Miles, but I don't know exactly. But before Peggy, this is how Peggy found out. I forgot. So Lou called her into the office, and Peggy's ready to get a reaming. She thinks she's going to get yelled at because of how Lou overheard her talking about Lou not knowing what to do with creative. He brings her in, he goes, and he does a power move, though, like kind of a dick power move. He turns his back to her. He's like, I love this view. He's, I have, he says something like, I want to tell you something good and something not so good. Oh no, she goes, sometimes, he goes, I like to use this view or something to deliver good news or deliver bad news. She goes, which one should I be prepared for? Because she thought she was going to get yelled at. He goes, listen, I want to let you know that you're doing great work here, and I'm giving you $100 a week raise. My God, this is 1969, 68. This is 2020. If I had a $100 a week raise right now, I'd do a backflip. So back then it must have been humongous. Was it a week or a month? I think it was a week. Must have done a backflip. So he writes it down and he goes, also, you're in charge of Burger Chef. I want you to bring in, this person, and Don Draper? He goes, yep. And Peggy doesn't seem pleased about this. So she ends up called this guy and Don into her office. And Don's like, oh, Peggy wants to see you. Oh, send her in. No, she wants you to go in there. And that's when Don realizes, well, crap, I don't have this, what I used to have. He goes into Peggy's office and she goes, we have Burger Chef, and I want you guys to both come up with 25 tags, like 25 mottos, 25 lines, something like a famous, saying. One of these could be the one that we choose. We're going to have a meeting with Burger Chef, and we need to present with them, and I want you guys in on that. I'm in charge of it. And you can see Don like, the hell are you talking about? I'm a partner. I'm the creative director. When he introduced himself before, they go, this is Don Draper, our creative director. He goes, I thought Lou was. He goes, well, we have 2. Actually 3. Ted's off in California. So he's pretty annoyed by the prospect that he has to work under Peggy. He so much to the point where he leaves the office after being told this, goes back into his office, slams the door, doesn't even say goodbye, walks out, goes out of the office, slams the door, takes his typewriter, smashes it up against the window. Luckily, they have very thick glass. He's pissed off about this. Now, I forgot to mention, this might have happened before, but after he talked to the computer guy about advertising with him, he went straight to, he went to Roger's office. He wasn't there. Roger was gone for the day. He went to Bert's office, went straight in there, took his shoes off very respectfully and said, you have a second? And he talked about the computer business and how I think they're just in advertising and I think they'd like to get in. And Bert's like, so you mean new business? And he's like, yeah, sure. He goes, I thought we talked about the rules. And Don's like, give it to someone else. I don't care. I just think this is something to not worth giving away. He goes, did you forget about what we're doing here? And Don's like, then what am I doing here? I could have gone somewhere else. And Bert's like, what are you doing here? He goes, you're in the office. He goes, I was a partner of, he goes, I started this firm. And Bert's like, so did the dead man who's in the office that you're using right now. And I think that's a way of saying, he said, did you think you were just going to come in here and we were going to drop everything and you were going to come back and woo us and everything? He goes, this office has been working just fine. And then he says a line about the dead guy. And that's his way of saying, look, one of our partners died. And we just keep on moving. One man does not make this firm. We can keep going. We can keep doing this. And we're moving on just fine without you. You're here, I think legally you're here, but we don't have to use you. They said earlier he doesn't come out of his office. He's been good. Roger's like, he's been good for 3 weeks. Give him something. That's why they gave him the burger chef job. But you can see this is pissing him off. So he knocks on Roger's office, even though she's not there. He's like, I forgot I left something in there. Goes in really quick, and she's like, what did you leave? Grabs a bottle, hides it under his shirt, brings it back into his office, pours out his Coke can. Now, I forgot earlier he was drinking a Coke can, which should have stood out to me more. That he had a Coke can. And he started drinking. He poured alcohol into the Coke can and just started drinking. And later on, the guy's like, hey, did you want to, now this was all on the same day. This might not have been all on the same day. This might have been, so was it the next day he came in? And I might be all over the place. But look, I just watched it, I swear. At some point, he comes into his office and is just playing solitaire. And the other guy is like, hey, Peggy, what is it? The guy goes into the office to give the tags. Don's not there. She's like, can you get him? And he goes, hey, you coming? Don's like, yeah, I can't make it. And the guy's like, yeah, he's not coming. And she's like, fine. Okay, get me to the end of the day and come up with 25 more. The guy's like, 50? She goes, yeah. She goes, you have the research now. You can do that. So Don is not interested in helping Peggy with this job at all. He's not interested in drinking. He sits in his office. Okay, my beagle is now sitting on my chest, and you might have heard her breathing directly into my recorder. So there's a chance that this recording might stop early while I take her out. But now she's sitting on my foot. She's gonna fall. Okay, nope. You okay? Okay. So Don is just not having this. He's not interested in helping. And he starts drinking in his office, hanging out, just sitting on his couch and drinking, to the point where he finally gets on the phone to make a phone call. And he's like, come on, you want to go to the Mets game? You can see he's loaded. Let's go to the game. And who comes into the office but Freddie Roman? Freddie Roman? It's not Freddie Roman. It's Freddie Rumsen. And he's like, come on, let's go to the game. And Freddie's like, come on, let's get out of here. He takes him out of the office. He says to Peggy, we're leaving early. But before he goes, Don goes up to the IBM guy. He goes, I know who you are. He goes, I know what you want. Almost like you're the devil. You think you're this, you think you're that, but I know what you really are. And the guy's like, what? And Freddie was like, can you tell I just changed rooms? And Freddie was like, come on, we got to get out of here, Don. Let's go. He leaves him. He doesn't take him to the Mets game. Takes him directly home. Lies him down. The guy's like, come on, we got to go. Don wakes up the next day on his chair, and he's like, how did the Mets win? And Freddie just looks at him. He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, they don't even use me. I don't even know why I'm there. He's complaining. And Freddie's like, well, you think you're going to get back to where you were by doing this? He goes, look at me. I'm running around going from job to job, saying, hey, doing freelance work. It's really Don Draper work. He goes, you have this chance to do this. Do the work. I think that got through to Freddie. Freddie is sobered up, and he's like, you're not going to drink your way through this. Do the work. So Don shows up to the office the next day, or that day, clean cut, ready to go, goes into his office. He's working. Peggy goes in, and she's like, hey, and he looks at her and says, I'll have those tags for you by lunch. She's like, good. Now, I forgot to mention before that, Don left early. Something else was going on. And Joan walked by to Peggy's office and said, oh, your raise got approved. She's like, oh, great. She goes, okay. I'm sorry. She goes, I'm sorry, Joan. It's just been a day. She's like, I have 2 minutes. They go in there, and she talks about how they're making me work with Don Draper. Now, you feel bad that these women are talking about Don behind their back, because you're like, no, Don's our guy. This is the guy we're rooting for. But you have to realize who these people have worked with for all these years, and how unpredictable he's been. And this is their life. This is their company. This is their livelihood. And you're seeing, you have to work with this guy, this unstable fella who is a creative genius, but he's unstable. And they're sticking me with Don. And she's like, they don't want me to do good. They want me to fail. That's why they stuck me with Don, who's also named John Ham. And Joan's like, oh, I feel bad to tell you that I don't even think they thought that. They didn't even think that thought far ahead. Like, they're not even thinking about you, fan. They just want to give Don something to do, and that's it. They probably weren't even thinking of the failure. They were thinking, give Don something to do. So the episode ends with Don doing the work. He's going to do the work. He's going to do the tags. And I think that's it. This big-ass computer room, which I'm interested to see what happens. We got that. Harry is very excited about it. Again, I'm not sure what that's going to do. We have Burger Chef. Pete brought this job in from LA. And it's funny, Pete, they got off the phone, and Pete goes, let's see them give that to Bob Benson. He doesn't care that Peggy got it. He doesn't care that – he just cares that Bob Benson didn't get it. That's how annoyed he is by Bob Benson. But it all came from Eugene from The Walking Dead. And Pete seems to be doing okay in California with his girlfriend. But I think hearing about his father-in-law getting that heart attack and him not even finding out, having to find out third hand, I think that bothered him. Meanwhile, Roger's got to deal with his hippie daughter who seems to have abandoned her family. So there's that, but he's also questioning, I think, his own decisions as a father over the years. And Don Draper has to deal with being figuratively demoted. Technically, on paper, he's still the creative director. He's still a partner, but in reality, his job, the work he's doing, is a demotion right now. But you know what? Freddie got to him, said, "Do the effing work," and you know this will show them what they're doing. He's probably going to deliver 25 dazzling tags that are going to ruin this, make this other guy who's going to come up with 50 shit tags, excuse my language. And, yeah, I think that is, I can't wait to see where this goes. I want to see Don. You know, last time we saw Don, he was like, I'll do it. And then once he'll have all the, he'll all the rules that they came up with him. Joan said to Peggy, you know, I shouldn't be telling you this. I don't know if you know this, but Don actually has rules that he has to live by. And Peggy's like, has he broken them? Is he doing it? And Joan's like, I don't know. Is he? They didn't talk about the drinking. They didn't mention the drinking. So that would be one. If Peggy mentioned he was drunk or he seemed drunk, I think Don would be gone. So luckily she didn't notice or she didn't care. Now, Don went right up to that IBM guy, though, was very drunk, too. And he's like, I think you should probably leave. Yeah, I think you should go. Luckily, Freddie covered for him, I think, enough that he got away with it. But I'm interested to see how the office changes. We've seen it change so many times, bringing in television. And now bringing in a computer. Ooh, a room that runs this computer. That your cell phone, that you're listening to this right now, is probably 10 times more powerful than. Yeah, I think we've covered everything. I think that is it. Now, I normally I've been putting these episodes out on Saturday recently. I've been trying to. Yesterday we had a little birthday party for my wife, so I was running around and dealing with that all day. But this morning I'm here, and hopefully I'll get this up within the next couple hours. I've got a little grocery shopping to do, and I have a little beagle who has woken up and needs my attention. So none of this matters to you because you're listening to this in the future, and it doesn't matter to you at all, but that's who I am. I like to give you a little glimpse behind the curtain of who this guy Mike is. You know who he is? He's a podcaster. He's a man with a mission, and that mission is to watch every episode of Mad Men and talk about it every week. And you can find him on Twitter at MadeManPod, and the website is fansnotexperts.com/MadeMan. Now I want to thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for rating on iTunes or whatever podcast tool you use. If you can rate and reply, comment. If you want to do that too, that would be amazing. And I want to thank you for listening and thank you for supporting me as I continue this journey. And we're almost there. We're in the final season. Oh my goodness, we only have 10 episodes left. Oh my goodness gracious. Thank you for listening and thank you for coming along with me as I strive to become a made man. Oh my god, no, I'm not done. I can't believe it. Let's rewind. The Monolith. So the episode title is The Monolith. Now, The Monolith is something out of 2001, The Space Odyssey. And I was like, what is it? Is it something that was like that was a word first? So I typed in Monolith on Google, and it says the Monolith is a machine made by unknown extraterrestrials. Oh, how cool is that? The Monolith is the computer. Like this machine, it was for 2001: A Space Odyssey. This machine was added to their office, and now they know. So this machine is unknown, brought in by these people. So the Monolith is kind of the title of the really kind of representing the computer. But it's also representing the unknown, right? The unknown of the computer. The unknown of Don's new task. The unknown of Roger's daughter, what's going to go on there. A lot of unknown going on and talked about in this episode. And now I've covered everything, so I'm going to do it again. Thank you for coming along with me as I strive to become a made man. It's real this time.
Fans not experts.